Welcome to another Shelby on Safari live stream, the place where I, Shelby, a wild animal biologist and lover of pop culture, often combine my passions into one. Boy, it has been a while since we have traversed the interweb together and looked up Pokemon and animal comparisons in a live stream, and I am so excited to be back. So much has happened since, I don't know when the last time we did a live stream was. I have a feeling it was about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Actually, no, the last live stream was with my buddy Grace when we talked about Elf cosmetics and their game collection. That was the last live stream. Holy Toledo, it has been a while. Well, if you're new here, welcome. I'm really excited to have you join the Safari squad, so be sure to subscribe if you want to follow along on the adventure together. Tonight, folks, though, we are going into the world of Paldea. And in the last 2 weeks, wow, I've been on this bad boy for far too much, or not enough, depending who you ask. Tonight, we're going to be exploring the world of terastallize, which is the brand new Pokemon mechanism introduced to us in Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet. And in true Shelby on Safari fashion, we are going to be looking at animals in real life and seeing which ones aren't quite what they seem. And you know the drill, folks. Along the way, there are going to be questions for you guys. So if you're joining me in the chat, whether live or in replay, please let me know. Tell me where you're from. Say hello. It's nice to see some familiar friends. I do want to stress that at the top of my Christmas list this year for Father Christmas, Santa Claus, whatever you want to call him, is some new lighting. I'm borrowing I believe it's called a sad lamp from my husband because my other light broke just before the live stream. And so if it's really bright, that's why. And I feel like I'm in a cave. But the other thing, really, I hope Father Christmas is listening. Good internet. I apologize if along the live stream I glitch because I can see that there is not a really good connection. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know why it's so bad where I live. There's like other people around me, but I don't know. But apologies if you message in the chat and I don't see it until like 5 hours later. That's why, because the internet is rubbish. So we're going to talk about terastallize. I believe there's a chat going on the YouTube channel and down in the box. If you let me know which game that you've picked, I'm really excited. I went for Scarlet. Purple's my favorite color, so I probably should have gone for Violet, but I was quite diplomatic in my choice because I have to share the game. And so far so good. I'm actually quite happy I went with Scarlet. There's been a couple of really interesting outfit choices, dare I say, but it's been a blast so far. So far when I've been playing, it's been great. All right, so that is the wrong one. Let me add this bad boy. So this might look familiar to some of you guys who were able to join me at London MCM Comic-Con earlier this year in October. I had a blast being able to meet many of you in person and to be able to share the excitement of Pokemon and animals in real life with you guys there. Now, spoilers for May, it looks like I'm coming back, so watch this space, y'all. It'd be great to see you guys back at NCM London Comic Con in May. And it's actually my birthday weekend, and I can't think of a better place to celebrate my birthday other than Disneyland, of course, because the atmosphere was so much fun. There were so many incredible goodies, and this year I'm going to be sure to save my pocket money and bring lots to support the incredible artists that are there. So without further ado, folks, let's see who's in. Yes. World of Halpia. Yes, I appreciate you trying to spell it instead of Poopia. Indeed, for Thanksgiving this year, I did make, again, a chocolate Halpia pie. And in true fashion, it did not have the right consistency. It was still moopy gloopy. But you know what? I'm going to keep trying to make it. And one day it will have the texture that it should, like Ted's Bakery. Until that day comes, here we are. Oh, Rita is making burgers. Oh, fabulous. I would like to know in the chat, tell me how you like your hamburger or cheeseburger or however you like it, because ironically enough, I have hamburgers that I could cook for dinner after this is over. So I'd like to hear some ideas. But terastallize, let's get into it before I get distracted even more so by food. So this terastallize phenomenon, if you will, that's going to be a fun word to say, especially with the long week that it has been. This is a really unique phenomenon, and I'm really excited to hear what you guys have to say. It's Pretty bizarre. I'm not going to lie. When I first saw it in the game advert, I don't know if you guys can still hear me when my screen glitches. Let me know. Al, can you let me know in the chat if you can still hear me chatting when my screen goes? Because that would be useful. So if I should pause or not. Again, apologies, my wonderful internet. But this phenomenon has been quite peculiar, really, because it looked a bit kiddie. I'm not going to lie. I thought it was a bit, thanks, Katie. I think it was a bit kiddie at first. I was like, why are they wearing those weird hats? Like, this is a bit much. But upon playing the game and learning a few really important aspects of terrestrializing, I cannot wait to see what it's going to be like for competitive gaming. Not that I'm any good at it or anything, but it's just been a lot of fun, really, in the game, messing around with this. So for clarification, for those of you who have not yet played the game or not familiar with it, I wanted to start off with my buddy and use as an example my friend James, the flamingo. Finally, the flamingo Pokemon. It's been a fabulous couple of weeks. There's a flamingo species named James's flamingo, and that's exactly the reason why I named mine James. So terrestrializing changes a Pokemon's type to its Terra type for the remainder of the battle, and increases the damage dealt by moves matching that type. So James, my flamingo, is a flying and a fighting type, which I get more into in my video on flamingo, which I'll pop a link down in the description below for you guys to check out later if you haven't yet checked out it. It's quick, short, sweet, to the point, and explores why flamingo and flamingos are more similar than you might think. And pretty much flamingo is a flamingo. But anyways, this extra damage that you get from terrestrializing is known as the same type attack bonus. And this is always factored into the games. You guys know this. If you're flying type and use a flying type move, great. So he has, my flamingo has a wing attack and he has low kick. So a flying and a fighting type move among some of the other ones. But when my flamingo terrestrializes, he loses the fighting type defense because he's a flying Terra type. So he loses that defensiveness, but he gets an extra bonus kind of boost with damage dealt for his flying type moves. So he still keeps that attack bonus that he normally has for his flying and fighting type moves, but the flying are even more powerful. Even more boosted, which has been a lot of fun. And especially, I should have put a picture in actually, because when he terrestrializes, it's flamingo, but then has some balloons as his Terra hat, which is really ridiculous looking. I'm not gonna lie, but it's hilarious and makes me chuckle. I'm glad that you found the Haupia P delicious, Katie. That is good. That is the point of wonderful Haupia Pie's food. So here's what it looks like in the game for those of you who haven't played yet, or maybe if you have. I still find it fascinating being surrounded by all the reflections of the Pokemon that you're battling. It's quite funny. This Dragonite looks to have a chandelier on its head, and so it looks like a fire type, fire Terra type, say that 10 times fast, and then this Slowking has a water type. So they have very funny hats depending on what Terra type they are. I gotta say, I think probably my favorite one has been the dragon. I think the dragon one is rather interesting. And it's been a lot of fun, really, playing. I thought it was a bit gimmicky, a bit kiddie, but it's been really interesting. And maybe it's because of the Terra raids. So whilst you're playing the game, there's a couple ways that you can come across terrestrialized Pokemon. You can come across them in those big kind of crystals, kind of similar to the mechanism we saw in Shield, but you go inside a cave with a bunch of your friends and you play, kind of battle it out and for a certain time. And this is the one that I'm currently after, is the Charizard. I'm so excited after this live stream. That's what I'm going to be doing tonight. And you can do a Terra raid. I don't know if you can do the Charizard one though, if you don't have the online access, because you have to pay for it, which can be a bit frustrating. But for the most normal Terra raids, you can battle alone, and then automatic kind of players come and join you, which is great. Or you can battle with your friends, which are useful. But the main Terra raids are so peculiar and so probably so useful, especially now that I did the game, is because of the Herba Mystica. So the rewards are really useful. You not only get the Herba Mystica, which is great for sandwich making, which I realize now, if you haven't played the game, I sound absolutely loony. Yes, the mechanism in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet to kind of bond your Pokemon and to help kind of boost other attributes that you can find in the game is indeed making sandwiches, which is fantastic. I love a good sandwich. So you have to collect different sandwich ingredients. And I know my friend Grace mentioned earlier, she's just bought a lot of sandwich ingredients, but hasn't yet made a sandwich. So there's a variety of different recipes and all of that. In fact, in the chat, please let me know what your favorite sandwich is. I think that would be fascinating because there's been some really interesting and horrifying sandwich recipes in this game. I'm not going to lie. The other way that you can come across terrestrialized Pokemon is in the wild. So usually when you're on the map and you look, you can see where the bigger kind of raids are. Then in the wild, if you're just kind of roaming around, if you see a gold glimmer shining up in the air, that is a wild terrestrialized Pokemon. You can go up and you can battle them then too. Now, the useful thing about Terra types, which has been even more useful than kind of boosting the moves of that and even getting some rare moves, which is what we'll get into later, or not necessarily rare moves, but rare Terra types, is that you can change the Pokemon's Terra type via collecting Terra shards. So if you're battling or even while out kind of scavenging, you can pick up 50 Terra shards. And if you get 50 of the particular type that you want to change your Pokemon to, you can go to the treasure eatery and change it, which is quite fun. I'm pretty happy with most of mine. I think the only one that I might change is my Grafaiai. Of course, I had a Grafaiai. There are Terra good bug moves that I would want to have it learn to make advantage of the Terra type. I almost feel like if you change the Terra type to something weird, or even not, you should have a good move to back it up with. I know there's like a Terra Blast, which covers pretty much everything as long as you're terrestrialized. But anyways, so the heart of the story, if you're new and just joining us, I see a few new friends have joined us. First of all, my internet is rubbish. Secondly, we're talking terrestrializing in Pokemon Violet and Pokemon Scarlet, which is new to the Paldea region. And in true Shelby on Safari fashion, if I can even say the name of my brand right, we are going to be looking at Pokemon and animals kind of in real life, which is what I love to do as a wild animal biologist and Pokemon trainer. So what we're going to do tonight is we've briefly talked about terrestrializing, and I'm really excited to see kind of what you guys have thought so far of the game as well. So after I introduce to you guys 3 animals that A, you might not have heard of, but B, that aren't quite what they seem, we'll chat about the game, if that's cool with you. Especially as some of you are enjoying your dinner, have a dinner time conversation before I go quickly run and make mine. But with terrestrializing, as I mentioned, sometimes you can find a Pokemon that might be, say, a normal type Pokemon, like Bidoof. Let's take Bidoof, for example. And you come across it in terrestrialized form, and it has a dragon Terra type. It has that crazy dragon crown on its head. It's so bizarre because Bidoof then has the attributes, kind of the type, weaknesses, and strengths of a dragon type when it's terrestrialized. And that can be really useful. And what I found so far in the game is that if you play your cards right, it can be quite useful to have a Pokemon that might seem a water type, like Azumarill, which I'll go back to show Azumarill because you'd rather see Azumarill than myself. But it's actually a different type. I know this picture shows Azumarill as a water type, surprise. But that was the theme of tonight. And I'm really looking forward to introducing you guys to some cool animals. And first and foremost, folks, I gotta start off with going under the sea. We're going under the sea, guys. We are meeting the red-lipped batfish. And I don't even know where to begin with this one. Well, I do know where they live. Let's start with where they live. They are endemic to the Galapagos Islands, and I think these guys would have a rather unique teratype. But first, let's see. I have a question for you because it's been a while since I've asked you guys a question. Let's see. True or false? Because these guys got some pretty snazzy lips. Are they the only known batfish species to have red lips? True or false? Let me know in the chat what you guys think. And feel free to play along. I know my friend Jody often watches live streams back. You know what to do. Pop it in the comments what you think the answer is to this one. It's like a little pub quiz, but not, because we're not in a pub. We're in my dimly lit studio like a bat cave. But yes, let me know, true or false. Are the batfish, the red-lipped batfish, the only batfish species to have red lips? Are they the only batfish species? Oh, so many questions. I just love how these guys look. They're absolutely ridiculous, not gonna lie. Oh, don't be saying it looks like people. Oh, that's getting into sketchy territory. Well, it's actually false. There are more batfish species that have rosy red lips. In fact, the other species that has rosy red lips is this one, conveniently named the rosy-lipped batfish. These guys, though, are found in the waters of Cocos Island off of Costa Rica. So there's two batfish species that have some red lips, or red pout, if you will. But the one we're focusing on tonight, just because there's a bit more about them, is the red-lipped batfish. And let's get another picture so you can see just how trippy these guys are. So they got some great camouflage. And I would suggest, obviously being kind of a fish and found in the water, it would have a water type, right? It would be a water type. However, I'm going to throw a spanner in the works and suggest that their teratype would actually be Terra-based. They would be a ground Terra-type. That would probably be their weird one skill. And that's because the red-lipped batfish, even though they're capable of swimming along the seabed and looking for food that way, the batfish's fins are actually better adapted to work as pseudo-legs. So let me show you guys, again, kind of what they look like. So you can see those fins. They're different. They're not your typical fin. And so these legs are almost used, and I say legs loosely because they're fins, are used to walk and perch while it surveys around on the seafloor looking for stuff. Like, how trippy is that? And so that got me thinking, that got me not thinking. Spoilers, they got me thinking of how then, if they're awkward kind of in the water and they kind of walk and it looks a bit funny, how then do they attract kind of prey, small fish, shrimp, kind of other things? How do they attract what they eat if they can't really get around too well and too efficiently? Well, you might think it's the red lips, but notice and I don't know if you can kind of see it in this picture, but they have a fleshy appendage on the top of their head, that kind of protuberance, if you will, that sticks out. It's called the elysium. And this actually contains a chemical emitting lure, I guess you could call it, that is thought to help attract small fish and invertebrates to them. Talk about a real life Pokemon, right? Not only are they bizarre looking, but they emit a chemical that attracts their prey to them, and kind of like a sweet scent move, if you will, to bring their prey to them, and then they gobble them up. And I know I mentioned kind of the red lips and whatnot. There's a few different hypotheses as to why they have the kind of glamorous red lipstick. Some believe it might be to attract mates. Some think that it might be to recognize others of the same species at spawning sites where they reproduce. Who knows? Either way, it is quite the look with that red lipstick. And so during this festive season, if you should be going to a Christmas party, I feel like that's a nice bold red color to wear. I wish, Grace, if you're watching or watching the replay, Let me know what shade you think this is. Should we find a makeup brand that has a batfish red color? That'd be really funny to have a makeup brand to raise awareness of these ridiculously cool species. So we've made our way to interesting species. That's not what it seems. It definitely would be a water type, but I do think its terra type, if it had a bizarre one, would be a ground terra type, something really different because of its association with the ground and walking on it. And it's just a really bizarre species. Next question, though, for you folks, which leads us into the other species we're going to be looking at that is not what it seems, kind of like the terrestrializing Pokemon. I would like you guys to tell me, A, B, or C, what is the largest canid in South America? Is it A, the maned wolf, B, the bush dog, C, the crab-eating fox? So we got B, bush dog. Look at them. That's a bush dog down there. I started with the bush dog because it's the bush dog in the picture. A, the maned wolf, B, the bush dog, or C, the crab-eating fox. Let me know what you guys think. Hello, Rita. Nice to see you here. Nice to see you. Those burgers are coming along well. I'm looking forward to having you. And yeah, the screen once again has glitched out. I love it. So yes, we got maned wolf, bush dog, crab-eating fox. All of these species are canids in South America. However, the largest one is actually A, the maned wolf, which is why I thought I would focus then on these beautiful creatures. Again, this is a bush dog in the picture. They are well worth a Shelby on Safari video focus in the future because they are so cool in of themselves. But tonight, folks, we are going to look into the maned wolf. These rather unusual looking animals that I too think are like real life Pokemon. So I think if they were a Pokemon, I think the maned wolf might be a normal and dark type because they were originally thought to be more nocturnal in nature, so being more active at night. However, some recent studies are showing that they might be more crepuscular, so active at dawn or dusk. And also, I think just based on appearance alone, quite frankly, I think they could be a dark type. They definitely look mischievous, right? There's been a couple of fox-type Pokemon, not to mention my favorites, which are behind me, the Vulpix army, but a few other ones. But I don't know. I feel like a dark type for this one. Normal dark type. But what would their Terra type be? I'm going to leave that to simmer for a bit. Like a fine cheese melting on a burger, since we're talking burgers. Let it simmer for a bit. So the maned wolf is actually not a fox and not a wolf. So even more not what it seems. They are literally in a genus of their own. So on my Shelby on Safari slides, as often as I can remember, I try to put up the scientific name of every species because I think it's really important to be able to identify the particular species and also kind of raise awareness of it because sometimes you could say a species or say a genus of an animal, but not give the species name. Anyways, that's the scientific name that's up there in the top right-hand corner. Cryocyon, yeah, Brachiosaurus. I just say it really fast. This is what I found out. Just say it really fast and say it like you know what you're talking about, and it sounds like you do. So that's my secret. Because I am not well versed in Latin, although I should be. I think that would be a fun class to take in high school or whenever you take languages in school. I think Latin would have been really useful because then you can break down words, especially like the scientific names. I think it could be quite useful. You might have seen actually for the red-lip batfish, the scientific name paid homage to our buddy Darwin because obviously he had some fun over on the Galapagos Islands, and so he had his homage with the red-lip batfish, which is quite cool. Anyways, maned wolves. I'm getting so distracted tonight. You can tell I haven't done a live stream in a while because I'm like, squirrel, here, there, everywhere. Anyways, so the maned wolf is not a fox, not a wolf. They're in a league of their own. They are canids, so they are kind of distantly related to them, but it's really important because their name and their appearance, it looks like they could be a combination, but they're not. They're super cool, super unique. to themselves. But anyways, here's a cool picture of them because they're absolutely beautiful. And I wanted to showcase their large ears, kind of like the eye. You know how the eye uses their ears to kind of listen out for prey? So too do the maned wolf. Their ears are huge and really useful because if they hear prey, they'll actually then tap. Quite actually, they have a lot of similarities to the eye. They'll then tap the ground, whereas the eye taps the tree, but they'll tap the ground to flush out their prey and then rear up and pounce with their forepaws like the fox. So they might look like one, they have some similar attributes, but they aren't a fox. And they also, even though their legs look quite spindly, they can also dig up burrows to reach rodents. And then if they're birds flying by or insects, they're quite adaptable. They can then jump up to grab those birds and insects. So they are a species of many skills, one might say. But folks, the maned wolf, like terastallize in Pokemon, is not all it seems. I would like to suggest that while I think the maned wolf might be a ground and dark type, I think what might be really interesting for its terra type would be a grass type. Shock! I know. Hear me out. Hear me out, guys. I want to know. And actually, I think I have another. Do I have a video? Oh, it's not working. Oh, I found some really cute videos of maned wolves and they're not showing up. Oh, man. Well, I have a question for you. How much of a maned wolf's diet is comprised of fruit and plants? Now, this is an open-ended question. There's not a slide for this one, so I will repeat it again. In fact, actually, shall I type it in the chat? I shall type it in the chat, just so then that way we all know. But the question is, how much of the maned wolf's diet is comprised of, and I would like it in a percentage figure, please, plants and fruit in percentage form, please. Happy face, because that always does nice to add things in a happy face, right? So please give me a percentage of how much you think a maned wolf's diet is comprised of fruit and plants. So note I mentioned that they have, are really adept at seeking out prey like rodents and can jump in the air to catch birds and insects and things like that. But how much in a percentage do you guys think they eat plant and fruit? How much of their diet? It's very fascinating, I will say, because think about it. I had to give it a grass typing for some reason. I bet it's more than you might think. It's actually, folks, 50%, at least 50% of their diet is comprised of fruit and plants. Like, that's a nice, well-balanced diet, I would say. That's quite good. He's got some variety in there. But what I found particularly quite funny is that the maned wolf, apparently their favorite fruit is the wolf apple, which quite ironic of a name. One of their favorites. But the main reason, the main reason, guys, why I think the maned wolf is not what it seems and would have a grass terra type is because they inhabit called the Cerrado, which is the largest biome of South America. And in Cerrado, it has wet and dry forest, grasslands, savannas, marshes, and wetlands. They have so much going on. Now, with so much going on, and actually in the grasslands are much longer, kind of in the grass here showed, they have evolved to have these long legs to be able to survive and hunt and seek out prey in those areas. So that's one of the reasons why we think they have those quite long legs, is because of the surrounding where they live. And because they can handle all these different environments, I don't know, I just think it would have a really cool, unique terra type of being a grass terra type. And that's the maned wolf, an absolutely stunning animal by all means. And what I love, actually, is at Pington Zoo, when I went earlier this year, they have a maned wolf exhibit. But what I loved is that it was actually really tall grass and it was really difficult to see the maned wolf. And I was okay with that because they are quite elusive, quite secretive in nature, but the habitat replicated what they would have in the wild. And so while it wasn't necessarily easy for me, the visitor, to see, it was nice to know that actually the habitat design matched what they would have in the wild. And that's okay that I didn't see it. Because oddly enough, folks, let me tell you, I certainly smelled it. I knew they had a maned wolf. I didn't see it, but I smelled it. And that's because maned wolf urine has such a powerful, stinky smell. In fact, I bet if you go to a zoo, you would smell the maned wolf before you even got near the enclosure or saw it. It's quite similar to the way kind of skunks smell, I'd say. It has its own kind of unique smell, but it's similar to that. But yeah, very, very stinky is maned wolf urine. So the more you know, friends. So we are almost there. I wanted to introduce you to unique animals. Some you may not have heard of, but they definitely have a unique terratyping, if you will, to celebrate terrestrializing phenomena that we have found in the Paldea region in Pokemon Violet and Pokemon Scarlet. If you are new and just joining, welcome. I'm Shelby, a wild animal biologist and Pokemon trainer, and I often combine my passions into one. So we've introduced terrestrializing, we've discussed, or at least introduced you to the rosy lipped batfish, and now we've just went to South America to talk about maned wolf. However, we're heading to the other side of the world to introduce you guys to the last animal that I think is not quite what it seems. Meet the great-eared nightjar. These beautiful, unique-looking birds are found throughout Southeast Asia, and they keep mainly to kind of the lowland forests that end up being quite moist and quite tropical, which sounds lovely, especially because here in England, it's been absolutely freezing the past couple of days. I'm so cold. But I think the great-eared nightjar would be a flying and dark type Pokemon if it was a Pokemon. And I think they would make a fabulous Pokemon for the Pokemon company in the next region where they take us to. Now, my question is a little bit bizarre. So the great-eared nightjar, they belong to a small group of eared nightjars within the larger nightjar family. And nightjar alone is quite a bizarre name. And there's quite a few different nightjars throughout the world. And in fact, there's some here in England. And while I was doing my research, I came across a rather interesting, how do you say it, tale, if you will. So European nightjars may also be called the Eastern whippoorwill. Whippoorwill. Yeah, that's bizarre. But anyways, I feel like that's a story in of itself. However, if I didn't think that name was weird enough, they also are called what? A, eye demons, B, blood screamers, or C, goat suckers. I kid you not, guys. I'm not making this up. So European nightjars, which are distant relatives of the nightjar that we're going to be focusing on for our last real life animal that's like a Pokemon. European nightjars may also be called the Eastern whippoorwill, or what? A, eye demons, B, blood screamers. I'm just laughing because it sounds so ridiculous. Blood screamers, or C, goat suckers. Yeah. Genuinely, I was flabbergasted when I found this out because it will make sense in a bit when we finish. So, guys, I see a couple different ones. I see a couple different. You guys all went for different ones. All right, it's actually C, goat suckers. European nightjars have been known as many things, but indeed goat suckers. Now, hear me out. Okay, so they're active at night, and they, make their noises at night, which is quite bizarre, anyways, to begin with. And apparently, back in the day, because they were quite active at night and quite elusive during the day, that became quite superstitious. Ooh. And goats, they had the association with goats because of kind of in the night, insects kind of stuff would come to the goats, and then nightjars would come and eat the insects from goats. And so there was that association between the nightjars and goats, but alas, it was because of the insects that were attracted to the goats. I finally said an ass. And the weird kind of mouths that they have, I'll show you in a bit. They have a very interesting mouth, do nightjars. But they thought, oh, maybe that's for sucking on goat milk. Literally the weirdest thing I've seen. But I had to ask and share the knowledge of European nightjars are called, used to be called goat suckers. So like the European nightjar, the species we're going to be focusing on is this beautiful, lovely little nightjar. Well, the one that are found in South Asia. So the great-eared nightjar. This is the one we're going to be focusing on. They too are well suited for a nocturnal lifestyle, hence the picture. And you can kind of see in the eyes of the nightjar that they have that tapetum lucidum, that reflective kind of layer of tissue that reflects visible light back through the retina to give that glow. Our cats have it, a couple different kind of really cool species have it, but that does make it quite eerie at night if light catches their eyes and it reflects back at you. They are also quite skilled flyers, as seen here. They do a lot of cool stuff in flight. So they eat flying, so they catch and eat insects on the wing. They even drink flying. So they glide past lakes and rivers and scoop up water from the surface and just carry on. It's quite interesting. I don't know, it's quite a hotly debated topic because I know it distracts, but it makes me think of like driving. In America, it's quite common to have plenty of drive-throughs and, you know, eat and have your coffee while driving. And it can be distracting, so it's not particularly recommended. But it just makes me think, gosh, the coordination that these guys must have to not only eat, but drink while flying and just keep that, just so amazing. So its Terra-type could be ground. Now, I do need to pause really quick. Give me a moment. Sorry, guys, we're almost there. So the the beautiful great-eared nightjar, I think its Terra-type, apart from being flying and dark type because of the nocturnal nature, I think its Terra-type could be ground. And here is why. Let me show you the picture. Oh, wait, here's the picture of their mouth. Isn't that scary? Could you imagine being a little bug up in the air and then this thing whips at you? You'd be like, whoa, where did that come from? Although you probably wouldn't see it, right? Because they eat on the wing. Anyways, I think its Terra-type would be ground because look at this. Not only do they have quite insane camouflage for being on the ground, but the weirdest thing about them and why they have the camouflage is because that is where they incubate. They have a single egg that they incubate, and for some reason they incubate it on the ground, and so hence the camouflage, all the beautiful kind of leaves on the forest floor. That is why I think the great-eared nightjar would definitely be a Terra-type of a literal Terra of the ground because of this unique adaptation. And I don't know, I just find it so fascinating. These incredible animals are definitely like real life Pokemon. The terastallizing phenomenon definitely brought some unique attributes to the Pokemon. Be sure to let me know in the comments which one you guys have found most funny. I'm again chasing that Charizard tonight. I think it's going to be a fascinating one to battle. There's a lot of benefits to battling Terra raids, but also it can be rewards are quite nice, but it's interesting to kind of mix around with those Terra types, like I talked about in the beginning, where kind of the moves are boosted. And I feel from the competitive nature, even though I'm not that competitive when it comes to it, I bet it's going to be quite interesting to see where that goes. Just a quick couple of general thoughts on the game. And then we'll head off because I know you guys have burgers and dinner, and I have burgers and dinner as well. I think it's been a blast being able to explore and not follow the story as strictly as some of the other games. And people kind of like that structure. But there's enough of it, that flexibility, and that's. I also have really the sustainability side of where you can go and. But on the whole, I think the game has been fabulous to play. I know there's been a lot of glitches, and sometimes they've been quite terrifying. So last night I came across a mass outbreak of Florges, and they were spawning on top of each other. And so it was a big tower of flowers glaring at me. So that was a bit scary. But other than that, I think it's been really fun. And so let me know in the comments what you think has been the best bit of Pokemon Violet and Pokemon Scarlet. And thanks for joining me for another quick Shelby on Safari live stream as we explored terrestrializing in real life, talked about the phenomenon in the games, but also introduced you guys to 3 unusual animals that I think aren't all what they seemed. So they were the red-lipped batfish, the Maine wolf, and the great-eared nightjar. Thanks so much for watching, guys. And if you haven't been to Safari, to keep your adventure going, check out the playlist that I'll put after this finishes just over here on more animals that are real life animal comparison videos, if I can talk straight. Anyways, I'm off to go cook dinner for Maui, but thank you guys for joining me, and I'll see you in that next video, or whichever one you choose. Have a good night, guys. Bye.